Hi, Lisa. Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Jerry.
How are you?
Oh, just Ducky. How are you?
Having fun running around like a bandit with a mask on.
Oh, I hear ya. I'm up to my eyeballs in absentee ballots.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, this is for the primary, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Wait till the general election.
I'm gonna quit by then.
What are you
It's
gonna do?
brutal.
No idea how you get them. What are you gonna do? Go in and ask for it, or call them, or?
Well, no, for the primary, they sent it out to every
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's right.
registered Demon Republican. But the problem is the state did it. They hired a mail house. They were supposed to be mailed out on the 21st. The mail house didn't mail them out until last Thursday and Friday. And as of last week, any that we processed through the mail house didn't do it. So now we have to go back. We just found out maybe 2 hours ago. So we have another 100 plus that we have to process in-house again. We've done almost 2,000 absentee ballots. It's crazy.
Yeah, well, they're gonna be a lot more when they go to the general
I
election.
know. I know. I don't know how we're gonna do it. There's two of us. Plus our regular work. I don't know how we're gonna do it.
Because you're gonna get a lot of people that want to stand in lines and vote with a lot of people around.
If you're a registered Dem or Republican, go to the polls on next Tuesday because there's not gonna be anybody there.
Well, yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be.
They all did absentee.
Yeah, that's going to be a problem. You guys are going to get killed here in the next couple of months, and then you got who processes them? You got to get them back, right?
I know. Yeah, we have to process them. That's how the mail house got them. So when all the applications came in, we had to process all of those and alphabetize, 1,800 applications and then process them all when they come back.
Well,
And, answer the 20 million phone calls that I've gotten in the last 2 weeks wondering where my ballot is.
yeah.
I don't know. Call the Secretary of the State's office.
But just tell them, bring your tax payment in and we'll give you a ballot.
Go to the polls. There won't be anybody there. I'm still trying to. Hi.
Wayne, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
The field looks pretty good.
Yes.
Is it complete now? All done?
Pretty much. There's a couple little punch list items. There's um, a, piece of mechanical equipment that locks down the soccer goal that goes in underneath the football goal that needs to be installed. That was missing a bolt or something. And I believe we're still waiting for the test results on some of the turf. But beyond that, yeah, well, I believe we're pretty much done.
Now we can do is figure out if we're ever going to be able to use it this year.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
Right?
Yep. Yep.
I mean, we're laughing, but it's pretty sad.
Yeah. And we're actually, we just ordered a couple of more cameras to go on the press box where we can cover that field for security reasons. Get a blanket coverage over it in case, you know, somebody decides to do something stupid.
Yeah, well. Is it getting crazy to try and get school back or whatever they're going to do?
You know, the problem is that the state's not giving us any information or very little information, specifics. And, you know, and it changes constantly. So as soon as you get some kind of plan in place to do something, you got to go back and make adjustments in it. So.
Well, you got what, 4 weeks or so before?
Yeah, yeah. So if they approve a plan and let us run with it, we'll be okay. You know, we've got plans in place to, you know, either do virtual, do in person, or some kind of hybrid. But it's just a matter of them deciding what they want. The board ed is supposed to meet on Wednesday to look at the plans and decide how they want to open.
Do you have to go back now after they approve the plan with the state for the state to approve it?
That I don't think so. But I'm not positive. I think the only thing we have to go back with the state for would be if we're going to go 100% virtual. Then they said we have to go back and get approval from them. But as long as we go with either the hybrid or the full, you know, back, I don't think we have to go back to the state unless we make significant changes in what we submitted to them.
I think it's going to be pretty tough when you go back, though. The only thing that's good about Ledyard is we do not have, you know, a high infection rate. I feel
right.
some of those
Exactly.
Florida.
Yeah. So, but then again, you know, you got teachers coming from all over. So how do, you know, if their schools are out and their kids are home, how do they babysit and yet come to work?
Well, and then you got some of them that are, you know, of a certain age or have pre-existing conditions.
Yep, you got that issue too. So, you know, there's a whole ton of different scenarios that play in here as far as, you know, if we open, is the staff going to be there to actually teach the kids?
Yeah. Do you guys have to control the buses, what the bus drivers do or the companies do?
Yeah, to some degree, we can dictate. We're requiring them to have masks on from the time they get in the bus until all their last route is over. Doesn't make a lot of sense if they're going to be, if they are infected and they're spreading it all over the seats and everything while they're walking down to make sure that, you know, all the kids are off the bus.
Yeah.
So we're going to require them to have their mask on even when there's not kids on the bus until the last, you know, the only time they can take it off is when they're on their way back at the end of the shift. And they're going to sanitize in between the morning and the afternoon shift.
Don't
And then again after the afternoon.
Don't they run around for like the elementary, junior high school, and senior high school all in the same? You know, they make 3 runs in the morning, 3 runs in the afternoon.
No, 2 in the morning. That's a combined middle school. And I don't know if it's actually combined or there's certain buses that go to the middle school and others go to the high school. And then because they start at the same time. Then they go all back out and pick up the elementary
Okay,
and bring them to the 2 elementary schools.
yeah. Damned if you do and damned if you don't.
Yeah, but it's okay for all the kids to ride together on the bus, but they can't go to
They
lunch
can't.
together.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got them there all in one space, and then we're gonna segregate them when we get them at the school, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, is what it is. We'll somehow we'll get through it.
I don't see how you're gonna segregate first, second, third graders, when they hit recess time. What are you gonna do? They're just gonna run around like madmen anyway.
There is no.
I don't know if what they're doing for recess.
I don't think, yeah.
Yeah, they may not let them out. They may do something in the classroom, calisthenics or something, but I don't know if that's any better with all the huffing and puffing and in a closed room. They may have to just space it out and, Yes, Steve.
Yeah, Steve. Yep, gotcha.
All right. Can you see me?
Nope.
All right. Either way. All right. Hey, there was no meeting password in the phone dial-in. So I don't know if anyone else is trying to dial in instead of WebEx in.
The password is there.
Where's in the agenda?
It's on the agenda.
Not that normally there's a phone password, which is a numeric password number, but it's not
It's
there.
their meeting number, 132. It's right in the agenda.
It's right in the agenda, Steve.
I'm looking at it.
And then
Yeah, it's
the password.
132587.
Yep. When you punch that in, it asks you for the numeric password. And normally, if you look at like the 6th July agenda, you'll see that there's a phone password, which is a number. It says from phones and video systems. It usually gives you a number.
It's the same number.
No, because it has letters in it.
Everybody else is here.
It has but it has letters in it, is what I'm saying. Normally, you provide one with both a alphanumeric and a numerical one.
And they're both on the agenda. I don't know. I'm serious. Did you? I don't know, Steve. Does anybody?
I'm looking at the agenda that's online for 3 August.
It has a meeting number.
And how's
a phone number.
And the password is ZMUTKM73. Right. But normally after that, every other meeting we've had, after that was another number that says from phones, and there was a regular number.
But that's the same number, the 1325879. There's only one set of numbers. I don't know.
Look at our, because I'm wondering about any townspeople trying to call in, because if you look at 6 July's agenda.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna pull it up. I'm actually at work, so I can do that these days. For July 6th. Oh, that's the minutes. Hold on. July 6th agenda.
Oh,
It's the same thing, Steve. Oh,
there's an 8-digit phone number.
I see.
It's not a phone number. It's a passcode that you need to put in.
Yeah, I don't think that came up on my meeting because it would be on there.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm just in the future we need to make sure we have that, because if townspeople are trying to dial into that number, they won't be able to get in.
Okay, but I have Jerry's dialed in. Bob, are you there?
Yeah, but Jerry's on WebEx.
Oh, is Bob there?
Yeah, I'm here, but I'm on the web app too.
Oh, sorry. Okay. All right.
So I don't know who else. Right now we've got Jerry, Steve. That looks like I'm Steve, right?
You're black. Yeah, you have a black screen.
Yep. I see Bob, and then I've got Wayne, and I've got Steve June. All right.
Shuttleworth, you got Steve.
Yeah, but there's also Steve. Oh, there you are.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm back
use
in.
WebEx to log in.
Right.
But there's also, is Steve Shuttleworth?
Yep.
Okay, so we have all three Steves.
Okay, so we'll figure out which Steve is which. S. June is Steve June. I am.
You're Juskowitz.
I'm just showing up as who? Juskowitz?
Your complete name, and then
Okay.
Steve is just Steve.
All right, so I think we get started. Let me see here. So we have Bob, Steve Shuttleworth, Jerry, and myself. So we have a quorum. So we'll go ahead and get started then. And let me open my agenda. And I call this regular meeting of the Permanent Municipal Building Committee to order. It is 3 August 2020 at 5:07 p.m. All right. With that, the first item that we have is approval of the minutes from 6 July 2020. Those minutes are available online, and I will entertain motions to approve the meeting minutes as written.
I'll make that motion.
All right, Mr. Tominski's made the motion to approve the minutes. By the way, just to let everybody know, Gary did send me a note saying that he would not be able to make it today due to storm preparations in his day job. So with that, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right, and who was that?
Steve Shuttleworth.
Hey, Steve, seconded by Mr. Shuttleworth. Is there any discussion or changes to the minutes? If there are none, all in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying your name and aye. Steve Jeskowitz, aye.
Jerry Spencer, aye. Steve Shuttleworth. Bob Guerrero, aye.
All right, that's everybody. All right, so with that, the minutes are approved. All right, moving back onto the agenda. Let me open that back up again. I lost it. All right, by the way, I have no informational items for the committee. So with that, and I don't see any citizens that have come online, so we'll move right on into the Ledyard School's improvement projects. Before we get into any of the change orders or any of the items requiring action, we'll go ahead and take our reports on that. So we can go ahead and start out with Wayne.
Okay.
If you want to go ahead and give us some reports on the schools and what's going on.
No problem. Gallup Hill, I'll start there. Still having a problem with the parking lot lights. Now they're coming on and going off every night, but the times are way out of whack. They're coming in on at like 6:30 in the afternoon when it's still plenty of light out. And they're not going off till like 2 o'clock in the morning, somewhere between 1:40 and 1:56, depending on the day, and it varies. It's not the same every day. I did a walkthrough with Dan and Steve last week to review all the punch list items. We were able to sign off 2 or 3 additional items that were complete. Pretty much there was not much of a disagreement on the fact that the items are still outstanding. I think maybe 1 or 2 items there, whether they really need to be done or not. But other than that, I think the balance of them, what's on that list, need attention. The timeout rooms are well underway. Work should be completed this week on those. Other than that, I can't report any significant additional work on the punch list items. That's kind of come to a dramatic slowdown. No progress is made on the completion of the landscaping. Repairs have not been made from any of the ceiling leaks from either the heating equipment or the roof. At Gallup Hill, we've got tiles missing or stained all over the building. The issue of the groundwater coming out in the parking lot by the dumpster, still occurring. JCI has been out. Yep.
That's a new one, as far as I know, of the groundwater by the dumpster. Can you cover that a little bit for the committee?
Yeah, sure. If you're familiar with the school, when you come down across the front of the school, there's 2 drive paths. One with the buses that's close to the school, and one where the parents drop off and that type of stuff. At the very end, where the buses come around and head back to Town Farm Road, there's a piece of curbing, and there's consistent groundwater coming out of there and running across that driveway. And when it gets really, really dry, it stops. But that was a problem all last winter. Fortunately, we didn't have a lot of cold winter weather where it would freeze across. Just a couple of days where we had to go in and heavily sand and salt that area. The suggestion, I believe, by BSC was to put a dry well in that grass area right there to try and contain that water, or to pipe it across to the the storm drain that's just on the other side of the opening that the parents come out into that, before they make the left turn on the town farm road.
Was that listed in the list items for the site?
It was listed in it. I'd have to go back and check and see exactly what it was. It has been an ongoing problem that has been brought to ONG's and BC's attention, for well over a year now.
Are we sure that there's not a water leak on that? Because the water line runs right across there.
I don't know. I can't say there isn't. I
Okay,
don't know.
Has anyone called out Groton Utilities or who's the agent for the water system there because it doesn't make any sense that
I have no problem calling them out. I'll do that tomorrow. I didn't because BC said that it was a known issue. They recommended that it be piped or a drywall put in, and that wasn't done originally.
Well,
But I'll be more than happy to call on it.
Well, the only reason I say it is I believe that they can test that water to see whether that water is chlorinated.
Yep.
And if it is chlorinated, then we know, but it's not just groundwater, that it's probably leaked because the water main runs right along across there, if I'm correct.
Okay. Well, if it is, it could be. But I'm more than happy to give them a call and ask them to come out and take a look.
It's been pretty dry though for the last week or so.
Yeah. So right now it's not running because it was dry. But it ran up until I say mid-June, the end of June, before we had the dry spell.
All right. Well, if it's a leak, it's but again, if it's some kind of test strips or something, but at least we can take a look at that. And Kate, I see you're online now, and Lisa, please make sure Kate is indicated for attendance. Keep going, Wayne.
JCI has been out 4 times since we started the chiller at the end of June. It keeps shutting down for various control issues. They've replaced parts. I really don't know what's going on there. It's a continual issue. About once every week or 10 days, it's out. They have to come out and work on it. And so far, they've reported back that it was parts. They're in warranty. But I don't understand why we're having so much failure on a fairly new unit.
You're on the subject, Wayne, of air conditioning. Yep. My understanding is that to comply with the COVID restrictions, we've increased the amount of fresh air coming in to maximum.
Yes, we haven't yet, but we will once we start occupying the building.
Okay, do we know what impact that's going to have on the system? And is the requirement that we go to the largest amount of fresh air, or is the requirement we go to the largest amount of fresh air that can maintain the temperature?
Well, we can't go beyond anything that will throw this temperature out of whack. It'd be nice to be able to bring in 100% fresh air, but if it's 10 degrees out, the building's not going to maintain temperature. Same way as if we go too much incoming air with the humidity, and when it's 80, 90 degrees, it won't maintain that reasonable temperature. It'll actually be more uncomfortable. So we are going to up the amount. Basically, the fresh air right now is brought in by a system that measures the amount of CO2 in the room. And as that goes up, more and more fresh air is built in to cycle in fresh air. So we will decrease that threshold. Usually I like to see it around 1,500 parts per million. And anywhere between like 9 and 15 is good. So we'll start bringing that down toward the bottom. In fact, I have a call in for JCI now, asking them to give me a call tomorrow morning to see what we can easily do to accommodate that and bring in as much as possible.
Do we know what the spec is, the upper limit for the amount of fresh air we can bring in that the system is designed for, or no information?
No, I'm going to try and get that from JCI tomorrow when he calls me.
Okay, and
see
then
exactly what the maximum is.
All right, so in Ledyard Middle School and in Gallup Hill School, we have plenty of air handlers.
Mm-hmm.
In a school like Julia W. Long, where there isn't really an air handling system.
Correct.
How do you bring in fresh air there?
We are going to be installing ventilators in the halls that will exhaust air out. That will help us during the first 3 months or so of the year till we have to start heating the building. We can still do that, but we're looking, if we put them in the hall, they can open the outside windows. We can draw fresh air into the room, so the outside windows exhaust it out through a vent in the hall.
Okay,
So that's the intent there for that period of time. Once we get into heating season, there's really, because it's a hot water system, there's no way really to introduce that much fresh air. There's no ductwork in there that we can put a CO2 sensor to say, okay, this room's got such a level, open a damper and bring in air.
all right. I was just wondering. I'm glad we got the projects done then for fresh air.
Yeah.
What else you got on the I'm a little bit concerned about the fact that the punch list work is ground to a halt.
Yeah.
I thought that we had BSC out to look at the landscape, and I thought the landscape work was almost all done. What's left on landscaping?
They haven't straightened out the flagpole. They haven't remounted the benches. They did come out and put in topsoil, and they seeded it, and none of that seed came up, so that has to be reseeded. I've got questions on some of the trees that were planted. I'm not sure if we just want to go with an extended warranty on them, but there's a lot of them have died off. There's still some green, but I would say probably maybe 20% of the tree still has live green on it. So I'm not sure, where that's going to go, if we're going to have totally dead trees next year, or we just have them replaced now. There's some cracked and work they have to do on the concrete. I don't know, I didn't check recently. I don't know if Dan did on there were some bolts and washers on the bike rack that were not galvanized, that were all rusting off. It's a bunch of small stuff, but there's still items that have to be done. We're still waiting for the load tickets for the concrete, because we did have that problem where the concrete was on the truck on the last pour for too long. And we are having a problem with chipping and cracking of the curbing and some of the areas on the concrete. So we're looking, they promised them to me and I haven't seen them yet. So we can see exactly, if there was other concrete left on the trucks for excessive amounts of time.
You're muted.
And did you want to address some of the concrete on these load tickets issue and where we stand with that? And also, that would be our concrete contractor. This is primarily at the Gallup Hill School, if I'm correct.
Yes,
And
there's some at the middle school, but it's primarily Gallup Hill where most of the problems are.
yeah, do we still have more than retainage, or just retainage back on them?
So with regard to most items that were just spoken to on landscape, our contractor is Costa and Son. We have about $8,000 of their money held currently. So to speak to the specifics, the load tickets, I know Mike had collected a bunch of load tickets in his office, but I did not find them or forgot to actually bring that up when he was packing up boxes and turning them over to me. So I'm going to have to dig in and see what I can find for record of those, of the pour and load ticket verification for particular days. The comments regarding trees, I'll first speak to Gallup Hill, and that is that BSC didn't come back to do a recheck of the planting work and of the punch list items that we were able to complete before the heat of the summer arrived. So the punch list position, they've done, when I say they, I'm referring to Gerber Construction, have done maybe 80% of everything that was on their list. They had the more extensive list there. And then the landscaper did put in what he could before it got too hot. And as Wayne mentioned, at that point, we're not getting any growth and we can't put any trees in. So at Gallup Hill, we still have to bring BSC back to review the plantings, and there'll be planting work done, as well as trying to establish turf where it was where topsoil was addressed in the fall. The other comment, which was to the failure of some trees, just to put some context to that, it's over at the middle school where we have Wayne and I walked that space, like he mentioned last week, and I'm say there's 4 trees or so that are definitely failing that have made it through the first warranty period. Not all 4, maybe 2 out of the 4 were, but they're failing. So we want to look at, possible replacements, at a cost, and then two trees that failed within the warranty period, and then a half a dozen bushes that failed within the warranty period. Speaking to the bolts and park benches, the park benches were removed so we could replace the concrete, and that same contractor, Costa, who placed all the concrete flat work around the school, has to come back and rebolt those benches. And again, we have the 8,000, but they just haven't responded to the request to come back and finish up what they started.
When you say they haven't responded, meaning they're not coming back to you on this, is this, are they doing any other work for you guys anywhere else, or is?
They are not that I'm aware of. I could check in with the main, with project execs to see if we have them on any other projects, but this was kind of a small business that we reached out to and created a package for the benefit of CHRO, and meeting the goals and their desire to have a small business do the flat work on these projects. To the best of my knowledge, I have not heard their name mentioned. I know they do a lot of public works. They're not that small of an operation, but I don't think they're in the school business anymore.
All right, Wayne, I'll follow up with you after the meeting further on the concrete issue.
Yeah.
As far as the trees go and things, as we look at trying to get this project closed out, one of the things we have to remember is that we certainly, or something, this project going months further before being closed out, because we got to weigh the cost of not closing out the project of a town versus a couple of trees. Even if we can get the landscape contractor to deliver the trees to us, we can keep in balls, and we can swap out the trees ourselves with Parks and Rec and or the town at a later date if they don't become responsive later. But again, there'll be warranty work that continues on after we close out the project. So
Correct.
We do have to head in that direction, and that's the goal here, is to get this project closed out. So we're going to be chasing those items on the list the best that we can, and make a determination amongst the committee, Wayne, you and O&G, as to what are the pros and cons of some of those things, just accepting it and getting the project closed out versus what's the short-term and long-term cost, because we can't go after a contractor for additional cost to the town of not closing out the project. That's just not going to happen. They don't see that as their issue, and of course they want to get paid. So with that, I know we stopped Wayne midstream there. Wayne, do you have anything else to add on ongoing efforts? I do want to just say, I'm glad that we spent the money and did the advanced work in the middle school of all the doors. We made a decision based on door hardware usage to have the doors held open in the stairwells. The fact of the matter is, with COVID and touch surfaces right now, there's a push to keep doors propped open so kids don't touch the doors. But at the same time, we have the fire marshal saying, hey, you can't prop certain doors open because they're fire doors. So by installing those magnetic hold opens, I think we have, it was good that we did that when we did. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no, I agree. We're in the process now doing the same thing at the high school, and some of the other areas that have stairwells or doors that would normally be opened or consistently all day. So yes, it was a very good plus that we went ahead and moved forward with that. The last thing I have for Gallup Hill before I get into the middle school is you guys were nice enough to supply the brackets, adjustable brackets for the TVs. All but 3 have been installed. When we started to do the last 3, all the other ones were on block walls. We found out that there was no blocking installed in the walls to support these TVs. So they were just hung on the walls with the plastic mollies, and they're really heavy. So I've contacted Steve June. He supplied me with the specifications that were in the contract, calling for blocking behind them. So I'm waiting for Dan to, we discussed this when we did the walkthrough on the punch list last week, to see when Dan can get them back there to install that.
Which contractor, Dan, is the responsible for that? And have they acknowledged that they did not do it per spec? And how did we get through the, before we closed up the walls, how did we miss that?
Well, I can speak to Con Acoustics is your trade contractor responsible for wood blocking. How those 4 rooms, I think there was a total of 4 that
Three.
that were in drywall, only 3, Wayne.
Yes.
And how they, who would allow somebody to hang something, I can't speak to. I don't know. I think we had a good team out there. I spoke to Con Acoustics about it. I also spoke to them about some additional work that we identified when we did the walkthrough. They're looking to put together a small crew to come through and take care of all the drywall issues. And once I can get a confirmed date for that, then I'll sequence that work in. And we'll take care of not only the wood blocking, because those are going to require wall patches, but also a bunch of patching things that Wayne identified to me that I want to take care of.
Just quickly on, we're talking Gallup Hill here. So is Con Acoustics also doing the work in the safe rooms?
Yes.
All right. So we've got money. We've got new money for them that we can use as leverage to get them to fix the wood blocking.
Yes, and a long-standing relationship. It's just a matter of getting resource at this time of the year. Drywallers and tapers are at a premium as everything is trying to pull together for the end of the game.
Roger. All right, Wayne, what else you got?
Okay, moving on to the middle school. We had a significant roof leak at the middle school in the hallway outside the nurse's office. Took down about 6 or 8 ceiling tiles. This has been going on since just before we walked the building with the gym, and still hasn't gotten any attention. I did talk to Dan today. He told me that the roofer is trying to get somebody out there tomorrow morning. We still have leaks on the roof at on the stage at the middle school. That's been an ongoing problem, since I've been here. They were leaking when I did my first report back in June of 2019. The media center exterior door continues to leak. Whether it's the door or the roof, we don't know. I guess the last that I heard from Mike Brennan, that he believed it was something to do with the door. So every time we get any significant rain, that floods in the lower right-hand corner of that door and soaks the carpet and everything. We still have missing door locks, cylinders that are missing out of doors that won't lock. Again, I walked the building with Dan and Steve. Again, there were a couple items that we were able to close off as complete, but the balance remained open. And again, there were not too many discrepancies where we disagreed whether they should be done or anything like that. So I think most of them are valid. The monument sign has been installed. So that looks really good. They have a little landscaping to do around it. There's an issue with the thermostats. I'm finding out now that supposedly JCI changed the thermostats from what was spec'd. I asked Steve June to look into this. He has no adjusted submittals beyond what was originally put in. And this came up because they said that the original thermostats were supposed to be metal and didn't require covers. But again, Steve June sent me out the information that requires covers, hinge covers, lockable hinge covers on all these devices. So I'm not sure where that's going to go.
Hey, Wayne, when they were metal, they did not require a cover?
That's what Action Air is saying. I don't understand why they wouldn't require it in either case.
I can jump in just to let you know, Wayne, that I did have a conversation and got to resolution with Action Air. They're providing covers on all of the T-stats, all of the common areas and any area that's potentially unsupervised. So basically everywhere that's not a classroom.
Yep, that's fine. And and there's some up in like the attic area that's locked.
Mechanical room, I wouldn't put a cover in.
Exactly. There's no need there. Yeah, as long as there are halls and the bathrooms, then, those types of areas, I'm fine. Thank you. Again, we haven't seen a lot of work on the punch list in this building either. One of the energy companies is scheduled to come out and do some work tomorrow. Eastern Energy.
Eastern Energy is your plumbing contractor to
Okay.
look into the sensors that failed on the sinks.
Okay, yeah, I
And
got
put in the
information
screws.
from them. Yep.
Yep.
So that's good. Yeah, the shrubs, again, we've got some plantings that are, have died out and need to be replaced. We haven't received a load ticket yet on the concrete. And lastly, I did look into the option of putting solar lights on those 2 poles that need to be, that were disconnected over at Gales Ferry. I've got an estimate, and this is material only, of $8,800. They want poles replaced because they won't certify the wind load on existing poles with the solar panels and batteries on the poles. So they will not sell the system to go onto an existing pole.
Does the 8,800 include the poles?
Includes the poles and the solar panels and lights. Does not include any installation or anything else.
All right. And does I guess the question is, do we have any idea what it's going to cost to run power to those if we have to trench?
I've asked Dan to get a price on just paving and the trenching. I'm willing to have my crew, run the power across that. Dan?
Yep. So I did reach out to Ferguson Electric to see what kind of number, but I haven't had a field meet with them to determine what that cost would be. I think you're going to be in the same order of magnitude, maybe less, I would hope, for the scope of work to just retrench and relay conduit.
Yeah.
But that's where we're at.
Okay.
As I understood, I was hoping for the solution where we'd come off the small building that's on the field there. But as I understand it, that's not an option, and we're looking then to go back to either reconnecting them to the school circuit or standalone power via solar.
Hey, Dan, Wayne, why is not coming off of the snack bar there not an option?
There's 2 services there. One is a private service by the baseball league that is servicing that area. And the other one is the rec department that has a full panel. They have no more room for any additional breakers in the panel. So we would have to upgrade the service to there.
Okay, even if they put a new panel in, a new panel can't cost more than about $500.
No, but we still have asphalt or concrete that we have to cross.
Even on that side of the parking lot?
Yeah, to either pole. The 2 poles are connected, so we could go to either pole. But there's both asphalt and concrete on either side. So we would still have to cut that or trench under it or something.
You're talking about a walkway there, right?
Right.
Yeah, one's a drive, one's a walkway. Yeah.
I was going to say a walkway's got to be a lot easier to go under than going into a. You can even drive that through without even cutting up the concrete.
Yeah, there's a good chance we could.
And that, as far as adding, if they're not tandem breakers and the panel can take tandem breakers or something, there might be I'd much rather do that than cut across a drive.
I agree. I hate, especially for a small trench, to cut across the asphalt.
All right. So what's the potential for either a sub panel, a breaker, adding an extra breaker, but tandem breakers, or just replace that panel? Like I said, it's got to be cheaper.
Mm-hmm. Let me get a hold of. I did put a call into the rec. I did talk to Scott from the rec department. He gave me that information and was supposed to follow up with me, but he hasn't as of yet. So I will turn around and I'll follow up with him again tomorrow and see where he stands.
Yeah, hopefully we can do that.
Yeah.
Okay. What else you got, Wayne?
Last is you asked me to check in with the projector and stuff at the media center for Gallup Hill. Yeah, it is something my crew can do, but we won't be able to do it in the short term. I just don't have the people available at this point to get it done before school starts. So I don't know if you want to go ahead and place an order for the equipment, and then we can get to it either during Christmas break, or, I don't know what's going to happen if we get another shutdown or something. We can go ahead and, that we're capable of doing the install. It's just that right now I've got everybody tied up getting everything finished up before.
All right, so we have that on the agenda for a $17,000 cost. Now the plan right now is to open school what day?
Right now the plan is tentatively to open on the 1st of September.
Okay, and the media center will be in use, right?
I don't know. Again, I would suspect it will be in some limited use. It probably will not be to the degree that it was used in the past. Simply because, you had kids in there all congregating at the tables.
Either way, we should get the work done now if we can. That makes sense. I'm just counting bodies that are online right now. I see an E-Royce, E-R-O-I-S-E. Do we know who that is?
I don't see that.
Eric Rossi.
Eric from KBA.
For Castle Booths for the field.
Oh,
Oh,
Castle
okay.
Blues.
All right. I don't see Bob or Steve Shuttleworth anymore online. Do you guys see them?
Steve Shuttleworth is here.
Okay, I didn't see your picture at the bottom anymore, Steve.
Well, I don't have a.
I'm still here.
Okay, Bob, no
You
problem.
have-
Just
There's too many people, I think, to show up at once, so you have to use your arrows.
okay.
Little
Got it.
arrow to scroll
I'm just
over.
making sure we still had a quorum. That's all.
Yeah.
All right, no problem.
That's
go
all I have.
All right, thank you very much. Dan, do you want to chime in with anything additional at this point here?
Well, yeah, I'd like to let everyone know that I did get through that punch list with Wayne. I think the purpose of my getting involved and getting my arms around everything that Mike has left the table here. So I wanted to come back to the committee that at this meeting with a refined punch list, clearly defined limits of the punch list and an approximate value, but I'm still a few days away from that. But to give you some context, at least, that there was, outside of hardware and door related issues, about 60 items, 70 items on each school. As I'm vetting through those, we're not talking about a huge dollar amount, but there are some items that are tricky business as far as sequencing the trades through to get the work done. And I don't discount Wayne's comments regarding the number of ceiling tiles out. That kind of took me aback when I went through the schools and I saw, the work that had been completed above the ceiling, but then not closed back up properly. So that is something I have to work with Acoustics on the Gallup Hill School and another small contractor over at Ledyard Middle. But those will be, as unfortunately is typical, wrap up items before as we close up and get ready for the kids to come back in. But overall, there's more items on that list. I want to be able to give you context to it. So I'd like to issue that list to you, say on Thursday or Friday of this week, and to have, some team distribute that out just so the committee has an understanding.
Can you also, because we want to see that before we see our next application for payment, can you also indicate on there which trade is responsible for that cost? So in other words, if it's a roof, there's ceiling tiles that are bad because the roof leaked. It's the roofer as an issue, put a note on there, as opposed to the ceiling tile guy. It's not the ceiling tile's fault that the roof leaked. I am a little bit concerned. We got 4 to 6 inches of rain coming, and now these particular, you're talking about outside the nurse's office there. Is that an area where we put solar panels on top of that school?
No, it's not.
No.
And it's a new leak as far as I know.
Yes,
like
it is.
Wayne made me aware, roughly 3 weeks ago, and I personally went up there just on the rain event that we had last week on Tuesday. I got there just as the rain event was finishing up, and I looked everywhere to see if I could find it. We had probably a gallon of water occur, which is a lot for a roof penetration. So tomorrow morning, I'm meeting Greenwood out there that's your roofing contractor, to look at these 3 locations, potentially 4 locations if the media center door it also can be related back to the roof and not to the door. So we're actively trying to wrap these things up, but unfortunately, the new one that arrived, and then there were 3 that were still hanging out from when Mike had been overseeing the closeout here.
It sounds like Greenwood's being responsive. That's good. With all this rain coming, hopefully they can use that to,
Yeah, that's the goal for tomorrow, but they hadn't been responsive until about maybe 3 hours ago.
oh, okay.
When I went to the top.
Good. That's good to know. All right. Thanks. Dan, anything else?
Just to give you an overall financial picture, I did wrap up Ledyard Middle School's financial picture, with the exception of putting values to all of the potential costs related to closing out the punch to the degree that we want to take care of these things. So Ledyard Middle School cost report is now at a point where the trade contractor billing will, bar a couple more small things, be ready to go in about a week and a half. Gallup Hill, I'm running the same pattern, but it's going to take about 2 weeks before I can get that one to the same position, where I have all of the trades done. Final billing is. The goal to close out the project is to get to a final requisition. And that way you have the document that you need to notify the state what the final cost of the project, at least on the construction side, is. And so that's where I drive to these points where if a change order is in place that's going to keep a larger contract value in place, that's okay, that we bill that to that amount, and then we have the opportunity at a later date to either hold back funds, fund for one thing or another, but we have a maximum amount fixed for the trade, and that allows you to move forward with your EDO 49F.
Okay, so with respect to that, what I'd like to do is, Wayne, for you and for Dan, is at our next meeting, I'd like to have a discussion about the closeout process. So we, as a committee, are understanding what we have to do there. What are the pros and cons of having money that's left over in the situation that you just described, Dan? Because we're going to have to make some decisions. Also, keep in mind that these are two different projects in the eyes of the state. They happen to be in the same town, and we're doing them in parallel. But we can close out Ledyard Middle School before we close out Gallup Hill. As an example, if we're concerned about the air conditioning, those 4 rooms that were giving us a problem still in Gallup Hill School, nothing stops us from closing out Ledyard Middle School while we deal with that. So the sooner we get things closed out, the better. Dan has indicated that he would like to send a application for payment in about 2 weeks. So I'm going to ask for a special meeting in 2 weeks, middle of August. So Lisa, if you'll go ahead and arrange for that 2 weeks from now, and we will close out what we can then. And at that point, we can have a good lengthy discussion about the closeout process. So Wayne, I'll get with you between the meeting and we'll talk through what has to happen there. And Steve June, if SPA has any inputs on that, on how closeout works that you can assist with as well, that'd be great. But we need to educate ourselves better on that closeout process. What can be done after we submit that EDO 49F, and what's our recourse with any subs and warranty work and things at that point. I don't want to rush closing out the projects while we still have a lot of punch list items, but I also want to weigh the cost of not closing out with respect to getting state reimbursement. So we don't want to keep paying the short-term borrowing costs. And the town has bonded a good portion of this already, but we have to take a look at that. So at this point, although we're not adding any quote new work to the project, we do have change orders for work that we've already accomplished that we're cleaning up. We also have change orders for things that we've asked for. The paperwork is finally caught up, and we'll take care of some of those things tonight. So with that, Dan, do you or Wayne have anything else to add, or do any of the committee members have any questions for Dan or Wayne? Excuse me, Dan or Wayne on what we just discussed?
I can add one small additional piece of information, and that is on the O&M manuals and the closeout documents. They have gone to your commissioning agent and come back today actually with review comments. So now we're ready to proceed to transmit those documents over to facilities. And it also helps us get to the Gallup Hill set. So Ledyard Middle School went through first round of comments. We're building the O&M and facilities documents, and we have training scheduled now. Tentatively, we haven't the day down, but we're moving forward to training on the BMS system and taking facilities over at the middle school. Gallup Hill, we're holding off until we get to a point where we're comfortable that the system is functioning and it's not going to be something that Wayne is turning, ultimately responsible for until we get to that point. But I think a lot of what I've been struggling to get with the Actionair and JCI team, I will get resolved now because I have the attention of your commissioning agent and I have the attention of Actionair and Johnson Controls, and we'll all be in a room in the next 2 weeks to hash out the differences.
Yeah, hopefully Wayne will be in that same room at the same
Yes.
time. Just a quick question. We talked just now about all the manuals and stuff for the mechanical systems and the HVAC. What about as-builts? Where do we stand with as-builts?
They're collected. They're part of that package.
Okay, so Wayne, we need to get a thumbs up from you when you're satisfied you have all the as-builts.
Okay.
Because as we are doing these, when we started these projects, the as-builts for the school, in some cases we didn't have them, or they were very, very poor, or they weren't representative. And when all of us are no longer on this committee, and 30 years from now, when the town goes to do a project, we want to have the as-built available. All right.
Yeah, they're critical.
And
so-
do we get those as-built in paper form and digital form?
We've asked for them in both.
Okay.
And I believe that they have to give it. They're required to give us those in both, Jerry. So we should have that. All right. So with that, one of the things that Wayne had mentioned earlier was that the work for installing the multimedia equipment that was inside the Gallup Hill School Media Center went back and forth, and we were having problems with the contractor there. At this point here, we do have attached to your agenda a bid for $17,295. That includes the hardware, the installation, and the test configuration for that system. This is through ESC, Environmental Systems Corporation. They are a state contract holder, so we don't have to go out and bid this. They're doing an awful lot more cleaning. They're doing an awful lot more work that's going on right now. I really don't want to add extra stuff to their with school opening and things right now, they've got their hands full, as does Wayne. So I'm going to recommend that we move forward with having ESC do this work, and we'll get it installed. Even as when you look at the media center, you say, hey, it's not a classroom, but depending on what the school needs to do, they may need the flexibility to have as many classrooms as they possibly can, depending on the guidelines from the state that seem to change all the time. So whether things like cafeterias, media centers, and art rooms could be used as other classrooms, who knows? This will give us some teaching capability in the media center there. So with that, I move that we accept the bid from ESC for $17,295 for the installation of projection system inside the Gallup Hill School Media Center. And so that motion is made.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Tominski. Is there any discussion?
I just have one. We're not going to get an issue with D'Agostino and the rest of the people with the equipment they've installed.
This is coming through D'Agostino. They recommended the vendor.
Oh, okay. That's just want to make sure.
Yep.
Get cross purposes with somebody. Fine.
Yeah, I'd asked that same question offline earlier, Jerry, so we're thinking alike. That's good. All right, so with that, all in favor of approving this and accepting this, signify by saying your name and aye. Steve Jeskowitz, aye.
Jerry Tominski, aye.
Steve Shuttleworth, aye.
Herb, aye.
Bob Guerrero, aye.
All right, the ayes have it. We've accepted that. All right, moving on to the next agenda item.
That's right.
I'm sorry, say that again.
I'm sorry, Steve, that was me.
Okay, you're good? Okay, no problem. All right, so now I have some change order requests here. They're in your agenda here. The first change order is on the monument sign. It is $1,578. When we went to put that monument sign in, there was an issue with the footing that it would not support the sign properly. We were already committed to having the sign. The sign was delivered, so this is an additional charge to beef up the foundation underneath. That's now that work's done. The sign's in place. So I move that we accept change order request number 259 for the monument sign at the Ledyard Middle School in the amount of $1,578 even.
Steve Shuttleworth, second.
Seconded by Mr. Shuttleworth. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the change order signify by saying your name and aye. Steve Jeskowitz, aye.
Jerry Kaminsky, aye.
Steve Shuttleworth, aye.
Kate DePalma Herb, aye.
Bob Guerrero, aye.
All right, with that, the ayes have it, and that change order is accepted. All right, moving on. The next thing we have here is a $0 change order. This is basically is moving some money back and forth around. There was we had to move. This actually goes back quite a ways back. It's actually taking care of work that was already done. Dan, correct me if I'm wrong. This had to do with in the middle school, the tech ed shop, the location of the receptacles and everything was not working for the way the tables were going to be set up by the teacher in the room. So we had to do some changes there. That work is already done, complete, and this closes that out. Is that correct?
That's correct. We also, in this change, connected up some of the shop equipment. And honestly, why it's a $0 change and shared with the committee is because O&G went outside of our trade contractor base and engaged D'Amica Electric. And so now we're asking money to be taken from the project and given to O&G. And I want to make sure that the committee was fully aware when I asked for money that I just don't put it in my account from, when I say my, I mean O&G's account.
Right.
That you guys are fully aware of. It's a contingency change, CM, that we're funding it from the CM contingency, but I wanted to make you aware.
Right, and this was below the threshold for us to have approved that in the past, but we actually did approve this, and when the committee walked through that space, at least verbally at that point. So with that, change order request number 224, $0 for tech ed equipment connections and electrical at the middle school. I move that we accept the change order.
Steve Shuttleworth,
Go ahead.
That was Steve Shuttleworth that seconded that, and then Jerry, I heard your voice at the end there. As
Go ahead.
all right, is there any discussion? Hearing no discussion, all in favor of accepting the change order signify by saying your name and aye. Steve Jeskowitz, aye.
Jerry Kaminsky, aye.
Steve Shuttleworth, aye.
Kate DePalma Herb, aye.
Bob Guerrero, aye.
All right, the ayes have it, and the change order is approved. All right, the next item we have is change order request number 46. Is change order number 46. I'm sorry, 257. This is the Ledyard Middle School. This is for the kiln. When the kiln was put into the plan to put a kiln in, it was not part of one of the bid packages that went out when we were bidding the project. And Dan, you can explain a little bit better than me, but essentially we're moving contingency for the purchase of the kiln that is already installed and has already been hot to and making clay stuff to my knowledge. Is that correct?
That's correct. And it's a similar situation where we went out and bought this item directly and are taking CM contingency funds to reimburse O&G's direct purchase.
All right, and everyone, you'll see attached there the actual the cost of the kiln and the equipment that goes along with it attached to that change order. It's in order. So with that, I move that we accept change order request number 257 for kiln direct purchase in the amount of $0, which is actually $4,908 moving from contingency into O&G.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Mr. Tominski. Is there any discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor of accepting that change order signify by saying your name and aye. Steve Jeskowitz, aye.
Jerry Kaminsky, aye.
Steve Shuttleworth, aye.
Kate DePalma Herb, aye.
Bob Guerrero, aye.
All right, with that, the ayes have it. Next, we have change order request number 46, or change order number 46. This is for the Ledyard Middle School. There's an access ladder on the eastern side of the stairwell that goes up to the roof. And there was a temporary, I think it was made of wood actually, security enclosure put around that. That's not really holding up all that well. We do want to get that changed out. We've had discussion several times about putting a proper security enclosure around that. It's a safety issue. This installs a proper using a metal enclosure there that's lockable that Wayne can that'll last now the life of the building. So this needs to be done. And Wayne, anything else you want to add on this?
No, I just, we're having problems with the wood fraying, splintering, and, coming apart in spots. So,
All right, plus the fire marshal will be happy. We have less combustible material in the stairwell.
and an exit hallway, yep.
Yep, so that's good. So with that, I move that we accept change order request number 46, which is security access to the roof for $4,283.
I'll second that one.
Seconded by Mr. Tominski. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the change order signify by saying aye. Steve Jeskowitz, aye.
Jerry Kavitsky, aye.
Steve Shuttleworth, aye.
Kate Palmer Herb, aye.
Bob Guerrero, aye.
All right, with that, the ayes have it. The change order is approved. All right, the next one requires a little bit of discussion. We're in the, this is change order number 260 from O&G on Ledyard Middle School gym floor. We've had, shoot, Jerry, you can help me out here. We've had probably 50 discussions about the middle school gym floor since the beginning of this project. Would you agree?
At least.
All right, so one of the last things that Mike Brennan did before he departed, we talked about this at our last meeting, was Mike went out and asked one of the most reputable floor companies that do the majority of the gyms in the state. I believe, if I overheard them talking correctly, these are the guys who do the gym floors at UConn and a bunch of other places as well. At Delene Flooring, they sent out two of their flooring experts. Wayne was there, myself, Dan, and Mike, along with Delene Flooring. We did a complete walk of that gym. We talked about the conditions in the gym, the history. They did a flooring inspection, for lack of a better term, looked at the situation that we had there. We thought the gym was making a lot of noise as we walked around on the floor, and the flooring guys said, "Oh no, this is completely normal. If you had kids in here playing every day on the floor, you wouldn't have any noise because it would be resettling all the time because it's a floating floor." And keep in mind that Delene Flooring was not involved in this floor at any point whatsoever in this project. So they don't have a dog in the fight to say one thing or another. And we didn't open that discussion with what we thought should be done. We opened that discussion with, do we need to replace the floor? I think we asked,
Correct.
yeah, we asked that question up front. So we wanted to make sure that we were not leading them down one path or another. But basically what they said was, hey, this floor is in good shape. You got no real problems here. It needs to be refinished. They talked about a few nails here and there and some problems, but for the most part, they talked through what happens to a floor over many, many years with coats of poly and coats of poly and coats of poly, and how it eventually becomes almost a rigid single piece of floor, and how the floor is not designed to do that. And we had a good discussion. But in the end, what all they recommended was that the floor be refinished, meaning not sanded down, but just resealed with properly cleaned and some touch-up work done here and there on the markings, and that it be resealed, and that and then some training for the school staff on how to maintain that floor based on the finishes that are down. So they did go out and provide a price for that through Delene Flooring. It was about $8,000, of which out of that $6,700 was the maintenance that, at this point here, we've been in the gym for a couple of years. You could argue that this is maintenance work and that we shouldn't put it through the contract and the committee. But with all the work and the issues we've had with that floor in there, I would kind of like to turn it back over to the school in the best possible condition moving forward, after having a reputable floor contractor take a look at it. There is a little bit of work that needs to be done, a couple of pieces of the strips of the flooring that need to be replaced, and they do need to set a few nails here and there that are a little bit loose. But other than that, they're recommending just to seal it. Now, after that, we did, Wayne did go out and take a look at what this costs to have done, because I told Wayne that, hey, the committee may not, agree to pay for this. They may consider it to be maintenance. Who knows? But Wayne, I think you found a contractor that can do it for less money, that may not be, prevailing wage type work or anything. I want to have a little discussion here. We did bring Delene Flooring out. They sent their team out for that day to do an inspection and recommend what work needed to be done. Some might argue, hey, you brought one company out to figure out what needs to be done, and then you took the work to another company. this work right now would go through O&G, and there's no issues with respect to funding it through the project. Wayne, I'd like to get your thoughts on this. It's your floor, you got to live with it, and what you would request the committee do.
I'm very comfortable with the lien. I was very happy with them. The quote I had was for the gym floor at the high school, which is kind of a totally different animal. It didn't have the nail holes that had to be fixed. It did not have the restriping that had to be done, touch-up striping. It did not have, if you remember, over in the corner, there was a piece of wood that had separated a good half an inch that was going to have to be cut out and replaced. So a lot of that was not part of the only quote was what one coat of poly that was going to go down on the gym floor. This has got 2 coats, so you could almost double that cost anyway. So I don't think it's that far out of whack with the additional work they're doing.
Okay, you're good with the lien, and after this,
Yep.
that's your floor. Now, we did notice that that there was some separation between the wall. There's some the rubber base material that goes around there that is come. It needs to be brought back out a little bit. That's not included in this bid. We still have to take a look at that separately. But there's nothing in this particular bid right now to do this. We do want to get the floor back get this work done as soon as possible so that we can have the school ready for the 1st of September or before then. And Dan, my indication is that the lien can get this done in time to have it ready for students, correct?
Correct.
All right.
We had some issues where the bleachers, when we put them in, the floor wasn't, I guess the floor didn't meet correctly. Has that all been taken care of?
Yeah, there's a metal transition strip that was put between the concrete where the bleachers sit and the wood floor, because the bleachers do roll out onto the wood floor by a couple of feet.
Okay, so the floors line up. We don't have an issue there.
Correct.
And Dan, I have a question for you. Do you guys, how many times do you use Daylene?
The last time I used them personally was almost a decade ago, and there was a new floor installation. They bid frequently, and I have a relationship in that I've seen this guy bid my work quite a bit, and he's always just slightly high. So they're reputable. I mean, they do a ton of wood floor, and the people that they have and they sent out are probably some of the most knowledgeable in the industry.
Okay, do we know what that stuff is they're putting down? Bonachemi Super Sport Catalytic Water-Based Polyurethane? That's a mouthful. I mean, I just want to make sure we're going to pay $8,000 for this, that this is not a, somebody putting down Minwax polyurethane.
Wayne,
I
did you
can't
want to
speak.
ask that, Wayne?
I do not know the exact make, but it is a reputable gym floor finish. They did tell us what it was at the meeting, but I don't recall off the top of my head what the exact name was. It is a water-based finish. It is not an oil-based finish.
Okay.
One thing I just took a look real quick there, Jerry, while we were talking here, and I plugged in that online there. 5 gallons of that stuff costs over $400 through Granger, and the coverage per gallon is 500 to 600 square feet. So my guess is they'll need with 2 coats, they'll need probably 4, at least 6
No,
of these.
I'm not talking about the coverage. I'm talking about the durability. The question I have out of it is, I've had the floors of my house done. They had to vacate the house after they got done putting it on the floor because of the smell. Is that going to be an issue with us for this thing?
You do have a smell off of it, whether it's water or oil based. The water tends to dissipate much quicker within a day or so. With the oil base, which is what they used at the high school, will hang around for a week to 10 days.
Yeah, when the floor guy came out, Jerry, he indicated that you'll get that they have very, very little use right now. He says, in fact, he said he had a couple pallets of the old oil-based stuff that nobody even uses anymore. He says in schools they exclusively use the water-based because it's low VOC, that kind of thing. So I think this is the right product. Like I said, the guys they sent out, it appeared that they really knew what they were doing. And I did a little check on the company on the side prior to them coming out that day, and it looks like they're one of the leaders in the industry in southern New England.
Okay.
All right. Hey, so with that, then I move that we accept change order request number 260 in the amount of $7,984 for the gym floor. This should close our work with that gym floor, and moving forward, Board of Ed facilities, they'll just include that in their budget for that floor. So the motion has been made.
Second, Steve Shuttleworth.
Second by Mr. Shuttleworth. Any discussion?
The only thing, I hate to do it to you, Steve, but the perimeter vented base that doesn't, that's what was there before was a metal base they used to cascade over the top of the wood. It's the same gap that's been there for the last 50 years. It's just that the new rubber base that is, that was spec'd and installed only lips over the top of that wood by about a 1/2 inch, 3/4. And so if you're ever going to have Daleen change out that base, it's something we would need to, otherwise it's, it's down the road, and it's something that the Board of Ed will have to take care of if they choose to. Right now it works, but occasionally if a child runs up to the wall and they use the tip of their toe, they can drive the base into that little gap, and you see the warp in the rubber base. I don't know if it's worth changing. It's like a $7,000-8,000 cost. The only way to fix it is to put a metal base back in, and that's a very expensive proposition.
The other thing that he mentioned there was, because it wasn't on all the ends, it was only on the east and the west end, it looked like. It wasn't on the north and the south side as much of a problem, at least when we looked at it. I thought they indicated they could put a backer on the wall to bring the rubber base out further by putting a 3/4 inch piece of plywood or something along the wall. Wayne, did you want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, that's my understanding too. That was the other option, which I'm fine with.
And then that rubber base doesn't cost very much at all compared to the cost of metal.
But that is an option. I didn't mean to portray that inaccurately. It is an option. You can do that. Daleen would not put the wood filler behind it. But if you do want to move forward with it as part of this project, I do need to engage the people to get it done. And with resources what they are, we may not get it done before school starts, so we'd have to come in after.
We've been living with that problem that we have there with the rubber on there for the last 1.5 years, correct?
Yes.
All right. Hey, so I think that when we get the floor refinished right now, that's taken care of. There's no volatile chemicals or anything after that. If we have to put in a new rubber base down there, we can do that at a future date or work that out.
Fine.
I want to take a look at the options, but right now I want to get that floor refinished before the kids get back in it again.
Yep, that's fine.
All right. So with that, I think that, help me out here, Lisa. Did we second that, or are we in discussion?
Steve Shuttleworth seconded it, so you just need the roll call.
Okay, and Dan was the discussion. So with that, all in favor of accepting the change order, signify by saying your name and aye. Steve Jeskowitz, aye.
Jerry Chemissy, aye.
Steve Shuttleworth, aye.
Rachel Palmer Herb, aye.
Bob Guerrero, aye.
All right, with that, the ayes have it. All right, moving on to next item on the agenda. I'm on number 9 is just a header, so we're moving on to number 10. This is a bill from Fuss & O'Neill. We hired them through a town contract. Specifically, we had closed out the Fuss & O'Neill contracts from the major part of the project. We brought them back under contract for project monitoring, for the Vermiculite. And so this is in order. This invoice is $1,297.82. And it is for the Gallup Hill School oversight of the Vermiculite removal, and I move that we make payment.
Second, Shuttleworth.
Okay, second by Mr. Shuttleworth. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the payment to Fuss and O'Neill signify by saying aye. Steve Jeskowitz, aye.
Gary Kibitsky, aye.
Steve Shuttleworth, aye.
Bob Guerrero, aye.
All right, with that, the ayes have it, and the invoice is approved. Next item we have here is we're on phase 2 of the project here. This is FF&E, furniture and equipment, and we have some of the closeouts here, getting rid of the last of the retainage. This is for Red Thread. They've delivered all of their furniture, and this particular was a purchase through Red Thread through a state contract. It's been certified for payment by the contractor, signed off for by Amanda Cleveland, who inspected the furniture on arrival for us. It's in order in the amount of $13,492.29. There'll be nothing left on this payment here. And with that, I move that we accept application for payment number 003-162522 for FF&E for the Gallup Hill School.
Second, Steve Shuttleworth.
Second by Mr. Shuttleworth. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the change order, the invoice signify by saying aye. Steve Jeskowitz, aye.
Gary Kibitsky, aye.
Steve Shuttleworth, aye.
Palmer Herb, aye.
Bob Guerrero, aye.
With that, the ayes have it, and the motion to approve the invoice is approved. Next, we have AIA application. This is we have 2 here from Silver Petroselli. Actually, we have 3. Steve June, did you get any information back on the 14 hours billed from Dean back on from 2 meetings ago?
Yes, he sent in a revised invoice. He did write back an apology. I'll see if I can dig it up.
Okay, so I'm looking at the invoice here that we still had from back in May. This one is not correct then, because this still shows 14 hours for Dean.
Okay, I'll see if I can dig up the email now.
Yeah,
All right,
I haven't received any. The only 2 that I've received are the ones below it.
Okay, well, we paid the June one, and we paid the ones after that. We just had one that was on hold there. So what we'll do then is we'll take care of these, and then ask again. Please ask SPA or Steve. Would you ask your billing department to send us a new May 2020 invoice, and we'll pay that at our next meeting in 2 weeks. So with that, I'm moving down to item 13 on the agenda, which is Silver Petroselli Associates application 201475 in the amount of $907.50. That's in order in accordance with our time materials contract with them. It's in order, and I move that we make payment.
Second, Steve Shuttleworth.
Second by Mr. Shuttleworth. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving application 201475 Petroselli, signify by saying your name and aye. Steve Jeskowitz, aye.
Gary Kibitsky, aye.
Steve Shuttleworth, aye.
Kate Palmer Herb, aye.
Bob Guerrero, aye.
All right, with that, the ayes have it. That is approved. The next, we have application for payment number 201482, also Silver Petroselli Associates. This one's on the middle school. It is again in accordance with our time materials contract for $1,196, and I move that we make payment.
Second, Steve Shuttleworth.
Seconded by Mr. Shuttleworth. Is there any discussion? The invoice signify by saying aye. Steve Jeskowitz, aye.
Gary Kibitsky, aye.
Steve Shuttleworth, aye.
Kate Palmer Herb, aye.
Bob Guerrero, aye.
And with that, the ayes have it, and that is approved. Okay, we're going to wrap up the Ledyard School Improvement Projects right now, and just quickly, Wayne, I'd like to get with you between now and our next meeting in 2 weeks. We're going to have a special meeting in 2 weeks from today. As it's a special meeting, we need to make sure everything is on the agenda. Hopefully at that point, we'll have a revised update financial on the schools from O&G. We'll have an updated punch list for us to go through. And Wayne, between now and that meeting, I'd like to get with you on site to go through those lists and see where we are, not to interfere with the school opening in any possible way. So if we'll work around.
I am off the 10th, 11th, and 12th, but other than that, I'm there and we can go through at any point.
Roger that. All right. Is there any other items from the committee or any of our vendors with respect to the Ledyard School Improvement Project for the Gallup Hill School or the middle school? All right, we're going to move on to other items. You're all welcome to stay on the meeting if you like. And we'll move on to the track and field project.
Okay, pretty much the work on the field is complete. There are a couple of small punch list items. One in particular is a locking system that locks the soccer goal down that's missing a bolt. Kind of pops up next to the goal post and locks that netting in place so it can't, move around. That's pretty much all I'm aware of. We're still waiting on the reports to come back on the testing of the turf and stuff. But beyond that, I think we're pretty well complete. We did make a couple of small changes, zero cost, but the bleachers had a skirt along the bottom that was put on because of the erosion on the dirt under there called, if you got your foot just off the edge of the bleacher, it was going to drop down a couple of feet because of the erosion underneath there. But as part of the project, stone was brought up. So when they did put the skirt back at the bottom of the bleachers, it was in pretty bad shape. So just appearance wise, looked much better just leaving that off, and with the stone level with the asphalt, it really doesn't present any tripping or, slide off any issues that we had before. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's pretty much basically done. And I think Eric will sign off once he gets the final testing and stuff. Eric?
Yep. Like you said, it's pretty much done. We're waiting. The big thing that we're waiting for is a lot of the warranty and closeout documents that the contractor owes us, the as-built drawings, the certification that the track is actually 400 meters, things like that. I talked to Carl Rosa at who works for HI Stone today. He's working on that, should get it to us by the end of the week. But other than that, they're done. I'm planning on getting out there probably midweek, probably Wednesday, to do my punch list. But there's not a lot from even walking the site last week. There's not a lot that I could put on that list at the moment offhand. So it's in good shape. It's a good track and field project. I hope you're happy with it.
Thank you. Yep.
And I will say that, all the contractors on this project have been really responsive. We've gone through and found some issues with the asphalt. They came out within a day or two, took care of it. So there's really been no delays in, taking care of any of the little things that we came across.
Okay, just one item. First of all the comments I've gotten back, and Kate, you and Bob chime in as Board of Ed members, but everything I've gotten back from everybody on this, when they've seen the pictures, the drone pictures and things, has just been all thumbs up. Everybody's extremely happy. And the kids want to get out there and play. I know that.
It's gorgeous.
It looks great, and it's a great project, and the town's obviously better for it. So I guess the question is, and thank you, Eric. You and the contract team managed to get through with using essentially almost no discretion of the contingency money on this. There were several add alternates that we did not accept, and the only thing we really added in was added in the colonel's word, because we had a make or break on that one. One of the things I'd like to do here as for Board of Ed facilities is that we have is that Diet Coke? Oh, excellent. I got a Diet Pepsi somewhere here.
It's the incoming freshman who's going to be using that track.
One of the things I'd like to look at there is, again, we're by no means do I want to spend money that we don't need to spend, but the town bonded, we have the project here. There were two things in particular that we did not really do with this project that would, I think, have some good benefit. One of them is the fence along the Gallup Hill Road. That fence is rusty and really, really bad shape right now. No one's supposed to climb on it, so it's not a safety issue. It's just an eyesore. Wayne was able to get some pricing on that fence that was at a better rate than we had in the project. Not, when you get enough bidding out there, sometimes things work out that way. I would like for Board of Ed facilities to go back and to, take a look. If that's something that you think that we want to try to do and close out this project, we can use project funds to do that. It will be separate from the work through that was done by Castle Booze, although it's been spec'd already. We know what the spec is to have that fence put in. I'd like to get feedback in 2 weeks from Board of Ed facilities and from the Board of Ed, even if it's just informal from your email exchanges and things, as to that's something that the committee should consider. And then the second part to that, and going back to the athletic department, is we did not replace the scoreboard. Is that something that we want to look at doing? We don't have to buy the same scoreboard that we were going to buy under the project. We could look at upgrading the scoreboard. Luckily we did not have to adjust the lights, and that was a little bit of a savings there for us other than testing them. So if at our next meeting, those two items, one was to upgrade the scoreboard. I don't know how old the current scoreboard is, but we have now a multi-use field, so we would want a multi-use scoreboard. Wayne, did you want to weigh in on that at all? You and or Bob or Kate?
Yeah, you did ask me to go out and get quotes. I will send them off to you. The quotes on the fencing were 33, I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, with an additional $1,500 charge to go in the black vinyl covering on the chain link. And the other quote, I believe, was 35,000. I believe it was 55 under the project bid, the alternates. So that was significant savings. The scoreboard is a little more difficult because they sent me multiple options, anywhere from 16 to 18,000 up to like 85,000, depending on. I'm still trying to sort through what the difference is in them. Some of them, I think the high end was a totally video scoreboard and display with actually no how you normally think of a scoreboard being. So I'm just trying to sort out exactly what each one is. So I can get those off to you guys probably before the end of the week, so you can look at the exact figures.
Hey, Bob, weigh in here. I don't think we don't need a jumbotron, do we?
No,
That's exactly what I was going to say.
exactly. So, I think they were just totally off the wall on some of this.
Right, but again, we now have a 4 or 5 different types of sports we can play there. The ability of the scoreboard to be able to adapt to those different types is obviously good. So 2 weeks from now, hopefully we'll have a little bit more information. But again, Kate, you and Bob, again, we do these projects for the board based on what the board needs for the program. I realize that field would be used by other than the education for the town, because it's a town asset. But I'd still like to get, the primary input back from athletics, Board of Ed, and Board of Ed facilities before we, I want to float that to the town council to make sure that we're not violating what they asked us to do. Because, when we had the meeting at the town council, the superintendent did state that he did not want the options. And my understanding is he's not going to ask for them, but he certainly, I'm sure, is not against them. So I want to get some feedback from Board of Ed, so it's not just the PMBC just out spending money and buying stuff. If the scoreboard, if this is the time to do it based on the new field, let's do it. As far as the chain link fence goes, it's just an eyesore and it looks really ugly. It's been there since the bleachers were put in. If not,
Well, I know that the superintendent regularly gets negative feedback about that fence, so having those emails and phone calls go away would probably be welcomed. We have a special meeting on Wednesday, so obviously we can't change the agenda, but we might be able to at least get people to start thinking about it and come back with some feedback. When did you say you would need to know by?
Well, we don't have to have it in 2 weeks if we have it. The only thing I would ask you to do is you can't vote on an item at a meeting that's not on a special agenda, but you can have informational items. So bring up the topic, please. And then if we don't get to that till our September meeting, that's fine. There's no rush because the fence would just have to be put in before the freeze comes from, and the scoreboard, like I said, who knows what we're doing with football this year anyway. But I would imagine they could change up the scoreboard in a day or two. Figuring out how to use it is probably harder than putting it in.
Okay.
So we appreciate that. All right, anything else?
Steve, is there enough reserve for both of them, or is that depending on the scoreboard cost?
When I see the final billing that comes out from Stone on this, I'll give you the exact answer, but I believe there's enough money for both, especially with the lower price bids that Wayne's looking at here. And obviously I would ask them to prioritize that. And again, we don't need a Jumbotron, but the fact that we did not run into problems during, when you start digging in Ledyard, you never know what you're going to find. So in this case, that's a win that we didn't have a whole lot of change orders that were needed, and we didn't find unsuitable material. So let's take a win for the town, and if we can get a couple extra things put in there, that's great.
Steve,
It sounds like if we had at least 80,000, we could reasonably do both.
Yeah, what was the low end on the scoreboards there, Wayne?
Say
16.
again?
You had scoreboards around 20, right?
Yeah, I had 16 to 25 to 36 to 85.
Yeah, so we're talking $60,000. We had more of an contingency. So, but again, I don't want to spend it just to spend it. So we'll get some feedback. I will I will at least speak to the chair of the town council before we pull a trigger on either one of those, because of, like I said, just only because of the comments. I'm sure that the fence will probably get quicker positive back, because again, it's an eyesore. Everybody drives by all the time.
Steve Juskowitz, this is Steve Shuttleworth. I have a phone call that I have to take. So on the last application for Hasbro, count me as a yes.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thanks. All right, thank you, Steve Shuttleworth. All right, so we're going to move on to the high school asbestos removal project. This is application number 1 from Hasbro, $160,550. And Wayne, before we vote on this, I just wanted to get some feedback from you. It has been signed by the architect, and it's been, and this is Mystic Air on behalf of the architect. And we still have 94,000, including retainage, left on here. But what's the status of this project right now, Wayne?
Okay, the asbestos was complete. They did come back, as you know, at the last meeting, we didn't authorize payment on this because there were issues with the tunnel not being totally clean. They did come back, cleaned up everything. They went through and re-vacuumed and wiped down everything. So we're in good shape as far as the asbestos removal. They're in the process now of re-insulating the piping up to the amount in the contract. And based on the amount of insulation I'm seeing there, they're probably about 50% done. So they got a couple more weeks to go on the insulation. So I would expect to see the balance being requested at our next meeting in September. But I am fine and comfortable with going ahead with this payment for the amount for the asbestos abatement section.
All right. So in this case here, the reinstallation was 86,000. If 50% of that would be 43,000. We still got 94,000 after we pay this. So I think we're fine there. So Wayne, you have no issues with making this payment, correct?
Nope, not at all.
All right. So with that, this is application number 1 from Hasbro's of West Hartford for the Ledyard High School Tunnel Project in the amount of $160,550 even. And with that, I move that we make payment on the invoice.
Second, Kate Palmer.
Second by Ms. Palmer Herb. Do we have any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of approving the application for payment, signify by saying your name and aye. Steve Juskowitz, aye.
Jerry Trinsky, aye.
Kate Palmer Herb, aye.
Bob Guerrero, aye.
And we had Steve Shuttleworth's vote already. So with that, application is approved. All right. So I think we talked, we're going to have a meeting in 2 weeks, a special meeting. And
So that's the 17th.
that would be the 17th of August. And other than that, I see a library commission meeting. I don't think anything else going on in the town. And we can get all the virtual space we want, right, Lisa?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hey, we don't have to fight for anything there.
For room space.
All righty. So with that, is there anything else for the committee? Anyone want to discuss anything, or are we good? All right. Well, thanks again, Lisa, for being the host, since it says host above your name. And with that, we adjourn.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Yeah.
All right, we're adjourned. Thank you.
All righty, bye.
Have a good night. Oh.